Lots to happen in the program today. I've been talking a lot of college football, Thunder, and more. College hoops. What did you think of that OU game last night, RJ?
Turned it off at halftime.
Yeah.
Turned it
There's not much
off.
to be gleaned from that yet. That was a rough showing. Nothing really went right for OU.
Especially after the Oklahoma State game, man. Like, I don't really understand that one. That one, you just throw that one out, I guess. But then you look at the way that they played Baylor in the past, and I think they've lost the last 3 straight.
Mm-hmm. No, they look. They played well against Vanderbilt over the weekend. Maybe expect a little bit more. As we said, Baylor is a team that's coming on, but OU couldn't shoot. But as the great Jimmy,
that's nothing new though. We know that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
OU, we could shoot the basketball, but we made up for it by playing poor defense. So,
but and Cherry Cole was losing her match. They've lost 6 in a row. What's going on there?
Dave, I'm going to kick that to you. What's going on there?
Yeah,
I don't know, RJ.
I don't know.
I would say recruiting.
Yeah. But what we do know about is, look, signing day a little over a week away. And we talked about this a little bit earlier. And, again, I go back to my case of I think that there's talent defensively in OU's locker room. I mean, they have guys that can play. They recruited guys that other people wanted. And I refuse to believe that OU brought in this many highly recruited kids and missed on all of them.
Well, one of them I think that gets a lot of attention, and rightfully so, is Brendan Radley-Hiles.
Bookie, yeah.
Yeah, he is a polarizing figure for Oklahoma football in general because there are those of us that believe in the guy, and there are those that like, hey, get the 5'9" dude off the field, to which I say he's been playing out of position for a full year. Maybe move the kid back over the corner where he earned his 5-star status and where he plays man-to-man and is allowed to be himself, and you get the best kind of player. And I think that's what I'm really looking forward to, because we're talking about a defense for which we really don't know where everybody's going to play. We have a good idea, like Ronnie Perkins is probably going to play that rush in spot. Kenneth Murray Jr. is going to play in the middle somewhere, so we think, but even that is up for debate. And again, that's another guy who's a polarizing figure on the OU defense because he had 155 tackles and people still want to tell me that he can't play defense. I'm really interested to see what Alex Grinch does with not just the talent that's already there, but this 2019 group that I'm very excited about.
What do you think, RJ, of the coaching changes on defense? You mentioned Grinch, but what about the other two, Odom and Manning?
Well, I mean, I think we touched on that, right? They are 2 guys that were brought in to help install a defense that they know how to run, right? They are 2 guys that were brought in for new energy and to help with recruiting. And in many ways, we're thinking and we're hoping that Lincoln Riley hired the 2015 version of himself in that, hey, let me bring in a couple guys or put a couple guys around me that I know already and know what I like to do. For Lincoln Riley, that would be Bill Beatonbow. That would also be Dennis Simmons, and then let's see what we can put together here. But again, I'm positive, right? They're doing well on the recruiting trail. I'm talking to some 2020 kids, some 2021 kids. They like what they're hearing, but like anybody else, they want to see what the defense actually looks like.
And again, that's going to be the topic conversation as we move towards spring ball. Is again, you mentioned Bookie. Anyone else you think that you really want to see what they do with him if it's something different? Come the spring game.
Trey Norwood. I would love to see Trey Norwood at that nickel spot because you don't have a lot of depth there. Remember, you ran Bookie most of the time when you play with a 5th defensive back. Mm-hmm. Also, Pat Fields looks really, really good, especially following the Orange Bowl where you weren't looking at a whole lot of guys on that defense and were going, hey, man, that dude absolutely played lights out against Alabama. Pat Fields was one of them. So if you can move Trey Norwood over to that nickel spot as a guy who knows how to play some corner but also play some safety toward the end of the season, I think that's a good thing. I'd also like to see what Miguel Edwards is made of. We saw a lot of him during the spring game last year, not so much during the season. And I would like to see some of the 2019 kids get some run, like Jamal Morris, like Jeremiah Cradell, like Jaden Davis, like Woody Washington, and see if this iron can sharpen this iron.
Other things of note to talk about, obviously, with signing day coming up. Anyone that you're keeping an eye on for OU with signing day, right around the corner, less important signing day. I know that they have the one commit who they picked up after the first signing day. David, the defensive end.
Ugwebu.
Say it, who now?
David Ugwebu. Say it with me, Patrick. Ugwebu.
I'm looking at the name, and that comes out to be Ugwebu.
Hey, man, I just had the kid. I talked to the kid. I talked to him about his name and about his heritage and about where he fits on the defense. Yeah. That's going to be on the channel on Thursday. It's a very cool interview. There's also a couple of offensive linemen that Oklahoma is looking and in on to finish out this class. One of them is Enokk Vimahi, who is down to Ohio State, USC, and, of course, Oklahoma. And then Danielson Ike is another kid, also offensive lineman. I think you're probably leaning more towards him than you're leaning towards Enokk at this point in time. But again, you didn't expect to pick up a guy like Michael Thompson on signing day last year, so anything is possible. But those are the two that you're looking right now to finish out the class. Obviously, you could still go get a JUCO kid, and we'll see what that looks like. But right now, they're squarely into the 2020 cycle because they already had the junior day, and they're going to have another next month.
That's where I was going to go next. Is one of the things OU has done in this infancy of the early signing day is they've done a really good job. You know, I remember last year we were sitting talking about, man, they've already got, you know, Spencer Rattler, and they had Bridges, and they had a bunch of, you know, the tight end, Stogner. They had a bunch of guys already lined up before, you know, once signing day, the early signing day was over, and really that's the case again this year. Also, too, I think we expected OU always makes a big event out of their spring game as well, where they use that as a big recruiting tool, too.
Well, not always, because last year was the first time that you could actually do that, right? So you put a bunch of official visits together, and that turned out to be a winner. And Oklahoma kind of set the trend for that. They made that into a big deal. And then later spring games, later in the year, you saw more of that. I think they're going to be building toward that. They got a couple of kids that are already going to come to the spring game, which big gets like Michael Wyman, who's 2020 wide receiver, big guy. You also would love to be able to get a few more in there because you could turn that into a really big weekend, but I think you'll tell a lot by whether or not they can get around to Baker's Heisman statue, because a lot of kids and a lot of folks would show up to see that guy get his statue, and I think it might be ready. I don't know. I'm speculating there. But yeah, you're looking at that event, and then you're looking at the Champion Barbecue, and by that time, you had your 2019 class pretty well committed. You could finish out, and there were certainly some things you wanted to tie up, but Oklahoma hadn't even started defensive recruiting in 2019 until later in summer, right? So now with 2020, you were able to get a head start, and that's the way you want to do this. That's the way you build toward top 5 classes, is you get a bunch of kids that you like in the boat right as you're coming out of the summer.
Again, R.J. Young joining us, as he does, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Check out his YouTube channel. Again, you have that interview coming up in your next live stream tomorrow. One of the things you've been talking about the last couple of days is obviously this great feud between OU and Austin Kendall. So that'll be interesting as well. That was your latest video.
Right, and I'm October 19th, man, so check it out. We've been talking about the grad transfer QBs and what that's doing and the transfer portal and college football free agency, but the only one on paper that we're guaranteed to see is Jalen Hurts versus Austin Kendall. That is my UFC fight night. I'm so excited about it.
It should be a good one. Also, too, hey, debuting this Sunday is Fight Me with R.J. Young. Have you started to formulate a plan yet, or are you still working on it?
Dude, I've been formulating a plan for like 3 weeks.
Well, okay. I mean, you know, your first show, what it's going to be, the format, how if folks tune in Sunday at 10 a.m., what are they going to hear?
Okay, we're going to get into my wheelhouse, college football, recruiting, and the NFL. We're going to touch on it because it's Super Bowl Sunday. But we're gonna get into the nitty-gritty of what I think diehard college football fans want to know about, which is recruiting, which is what's going on with this new hire of Mike Gundy, Scott Gleason. I think he actually got this one right, guys. And we're also going to talk a lot about what it looks like for Oklahoma and the NFL, what it looks like for Oklahoma State and the NFL. And hey, man, I got this running take on TU football that I think people will really be interested in, especially as it relates to the larger schools in the area.
Again, that is Fight Me with R.J. Young. It'll debut this Sunday morning at 10 a.m.
The church slot.
RJ, thanks, and we'll talk to you on Thursday.
All right, fellas, I appreciate you.
Excellent as always. R.J.